Hi there, everyone. This is Summer. I wanted to start just a little video series, and it was on essentials of a balanced life. And what my hope is with this video series is to cover just various topics related to health and wellness, especially mental health, just because that's my specialty. But just different topics that help you keep more balanced, keep yourself in check, look out for self-care, which I know is a common term that we hear a lot nowadays. So yeah, just hopefully this will give you a couple little tidbits here and there to incorporate in your life. So first topic that I wanted to discuss was about knowing your limits, and this ties in with boundaries. Now, boundaries is one of those things that a lot of people tend to struggle with. There's three different kinds of boundaries typically. There's what we call rigid boundaries, porous boundaries, and healthy boundaries. And of course, we all want to be in the healthy one, right? So rigid boundaries is very closed off to others. You may kind of isolate. You don't want to let people in on personal things or just things in general. Very cut and dry about things, almost like where you're too protective in a way. Porous boundaries is where you tend to kind of go in between. So you might be very rigid at times to almost oversharing or overstepping things, oversharing personal information, or where it's kind of in between there. And then there's the healthy boundaries, which is, honoring your needs, being able to say no, being able to communicate what it is that you want, and honoring your values and not necessarily changing that just to make other people happy as well, which I know is a difficult one for a lot of people. So those are various types of boundaries. And so what I'm going to talk about is, just kind of some common things that you can do to help with that, as well as things to be aware of. So in terms of, when your limits, say that you've been pushed past your limit, you've heard that phrase before. So when things become too much is you might want to set a time limit in terms of being around those people or what it is that you're doing. And you can set that time limit either mentally or in your phone somehow. The other thing is to walk away or try to decrease the stimulus or the stressors of what it is that is pushing you past the limit. So if it's a person or if it's a certain situation, you might have to kind of step away or possibly go in maybe in a dimmer lit room or a place with less stimulation. The other thing is to let other people know where you stand in terms of your limits and boundaries there. So this goes with the healthy boundaries part of communicating your wants and your needs. And so letting that person know that hey, I'm already pushed past my limit. I really need some space right now. And, if a person respects you, then they should give you that space. If a person doesn't give you space, that shows that they don't respect you, and it's more about control at that point. So really be aware of that. The other thing in terms of boundaries is being able to say no without guilt. That's a really tough one for people. But the thing is that, when you apologize for saying no, then that means that you're not really sticking to that boundary there. And the thing with boundaries is that when a person crosses them, they need to have consequences to know that they overstepped them. And so, the reasons that you may say no to something is because it's out of your comfort zone, you don't have the resources, or you don't have the time there. And that's okay. We all have different circumstances there and different situations. So no guilt with that. The other thing is to don't compromise your values just to make other people comfortable as well. A lot of times we're all about keeping the peace or, avoiding conflict in that. But, when you do that, then it becomes where people they try to step all over you. You may become more passive in that way, and that can lead to more issues with boundaries down the road. The other thing is to be aware of who you're letting in and out of your life. And so, when you choose to let people be in your company, be in your presence there, and you choose to spend time with them, is to think, Do they bring you more joy or good, or do they cause more negativity in your life? Do they stress you out by the end there? And if a person just stresses you out or, feels toxic and feels like they just cause more problems, then, maybe you should really limit your amount of time around that person. So ultimately is don't apologize for your boundaries there. Because the thing is that when you make boundaries, that means that you're setting limits for yourself. And this could be in terms of safety or self-preservation as well. And you don't need to apologize for protecting yourself or protecting others or, just looking out for your well-being. And so really be aware of what you're apologizing for. Anytime you apologize to someone or about something, there is, to think, what kind of harm did it do? And if it didn't necessarily cause harm, if a person didn't say anything, didn't notice or anything like that, is, likely then it wasn't that big of a deal as well. Again, every situation is different. But the other thing I want you to do is to listen to your body. So, this is like listening to your gut, listening to your feelings, those cues. Oftentimes our gut instincts are pretty right. It's that fight or flight, that sensing if there's fear or if there's some kind of threat going on there. But, if you notice that your body is tensing up, you're having, stomach distress there or anxiety issues coming up there, is that, that is a cue from your body saying that, okay, enough is enough. Like you need to take a step back. This is your limit. This is where you need to stick a boundary up. So in terms of that is, also taking breaks. That's important. Taking breaks is so good, with keeping your limits in check as well as resetting and keeping focused and more productive during the day. The other thing is give yourself time to process and feel. Oftentimes, if we're going through various emotions, we try to just push them down, push through the day, not think about it, just, go, go, go. But then we end up imploding or we may explode onto people, and that's not fair, of course. So give yourself time to process and feel. There's nothing wrong with just, sitting for a couple minutes a day, just being aware of what's going on in my mind, what's going on in my body, my life. And if this is hard for you, you can set a timer on your phone, for 5 to 10 minutes. Once that timer's up, go and do something different. So overall, I would say is just to limit negativity in all aspects of your life. When you limit, all various types of negativity, that helps keep your boundaries and your limits in check. That shows you're honoring them. And the thing with boundaries as well, because I know a lot of this is about protecting yourself, but also we have to think of others. We're living around other people. And so to know that what is okay for one person may not necessarily be okay for another. And that's where you should ask permission as well, to ask a person like, is it okay if I do this? Or, are you comfortable if I talk about this? Something like that. Because, people have various trauma that they've been through. There's different cultures, different, religious values, all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We should be respectful of those and, of the differences there. So ask for permission on certain things too, just to be courteous and be kind there. So those are hopefully just, some things to keep in mind when it comes to knowing your limits and boundaries, looking out for yourself, looking out for others there. And so likely I will be posting some other videos in the near future just about various mental health topics again, and just about wellness. If you have various ideas or things that you want to see me cover, feel free to message me about that and I will work on that. All right, have a great day, guys.